Hi everyone, welcome to Docker Overshot by BITsoc. Um,
Yay!
so basically, if you guys don't know or aren't familiar, we're just gonna go over kind of conceptual stuff for a few seconds. Um, Docker is okay. Well, let's start with containers. So containers are basically like a way to package up an application such that it only contains the application and what the application needs to run and nothing else. So that makes it really efficient. If you guys are familiar with VMs, it's kind of like a really, really small VM. Um, and so containers are really great because, first of all, they're so efficient because they only run what is exactly necessary, necessary or absolutely required. And then it's also because they're running on for instance a container runtime engine such as Docker. Um, these containers are all able to run regardless of what the operating system or what the hardware is. Um, of course, given a container runtime environment exists for that operating system or those hardware specifications. And then those containers are isolated and independent of each other. So, um, you know, obviously, well, not obviously, because you guys don't know what this is, but it's not always true that they're isolated and independent. However, it is a strength that they can run isolated and independent of each other. Um, so what is Docker? Docker is basically it's just a tool to run containers, to connect different containers together, to manage your containers, to start them, stop them, build your own, stuff like that. And so just like that, we can get into the basics. I guess maybe I should make this slide available to you guys. Can you upload a file?
You can share a link. Yeah, you can upload files with the chat.
Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah. I guess I actually have to download the file. Does anybody, you guys want this? I'll download it. It's fine. PowerPoint is fine, I guess.
Opera.
Okay, cool. So I guess you guys should be able to see that, or I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I see it.
Looks like I sent it to you guys. So that way, if you want to click the links or if you just want. So basically, there's two ways to follow along, kind of, sort of, technically. I guess there's three ways. There's an online playground of Docker that you can use. I haven't actually tried it with that, so use at your own risk. If you feel comfortable installing it, there's a version for Windows, Mac, and Debian and Red Hat systems. Or you can just watch and I'll demo as we go along. Anybody need any more time or questions or something?
Mine is just unpacking files. It's thinking about it.
It's contemplating. Unpacking.
Yeah, it's whether it wants to work or not. I don't know.
It hasn't decided yet. Okay. Well, I guess I should
I'll do playground if it doesn't download.
Yeah, I mean, you can always just follow along too. I'm hoping to do a little demo. So here we've got some basic Docker commands. If you guys are familiar with Nginx or aren't familiar with Nginx, it's just a basic web server, which just means it hosts. It's basically like an application that can host like a website. And so we go over here and we actually can you guys see?
Yeah, I can see.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the next part. Don't look yet. So what we can do is we can do docker run nginx, and then just like that, with those like 3 words in that command, we've actually run this like web server. And we'll take a little bit more of like a deeper look later when we learn a bit more about the regular commands. But just for now, I'll show you. So for instance, like docker ps, which stands for
Processes.
processes. Yeah. It's more of like just copying Linux, but anyways. Also, if you're on Linux, make sure you run a super user. And anyway, so we do docker ps. You can see the processes that are running. So we've got our nginx image. It was created 48 seconds ago. It's been up since 46 seconds ago, and it uses port 80. And Docker gives them a little like adjective animal nickname. And so in our case, it's like cranky Feynman. Kind of a tough one. But anyways, what else we got? We got docker stop. So not obvious, but you can stop that container. So in this case, we're going to use cranky Feynman. And you want to spell it right. And so by it returning like the name of the container, it's like that means it successfully stopped it. And so now if we do docker ps again, we're not going to see that container because it's no longer running. So docker ps only shows running containers. However, if you do docker ps-a for all, it shows well all of the containers, whether alive or dead. In this case, there's like a bunch that I made when I was working on this presentation in the last 2 hours. However, this is the one that we just created, this top one here 2 minutes ago. But you can see it exited 24 seconds ago. We also have docker rm. So docker rm remove. You can remove that container from your like Docker daemon essentially, so that it's no longer in like a dead state. It's just removed. So then if we do docker ps-a again, we no longer see that first one. So another command, docker images. Okay, so an image is basically like a container, or more like an image is like the files and the data needed to run the application, which is the container. So from an image, you create a container. So for instance, these are the containers I have installed on my system. WordPress, Ubuntu, Nginx, MySQL. And then we have this custom web server, which we'll create later on. And so Docker images just lists all the images available on your system. If, for instance, you don't have a image on your system, you can do docker pull. Well, it's important to realize that when you do docker run, it pulls the image and then runs it. Whereas, if you do docker run, if the image is not in your local image database, then it will go out onto the internet and fetch the image. specifically from the Docker container image registry. However, if the image is on your system, then it says, no reason to go any farther, and it just runs that image. However, if you want to pull an image so that it's there when you need to use it, then you can just do Docker pull and the name of the image, like Ubuntu, let's say. I already have it, so just can say that. But if you were to issue that command, you might download the image. So now let's talk about a little bit more advanced, which is like executing commands within Docker or within containers. Sorry. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I must have missed like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So basically, a container is basically an application, actually.
Yeah. So if
Really
you go
sorry.
on,
This
No
is
worries.
a dumb question. Sorry. But when you say pull, what does that mean?
it means like get the image, like grab the image from Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is basically where you can see, like you can get any image that exists. Well, that exists in this image registry. However, like Docker is kind of the de facto standard. So, we can just pull any of these images we want. I don't even know, like let's say like Minecraft. There's like Minecraft images to like have a Minecraft server that you want to run a Minecraft server, right? Like I don't know what's like a cool thing for you guys to relate to.
I have
There's,
another
like, a
question.
building stuff, maybe?
Where do I access this recording?
Probably we'll put it on YouTube, maybe.
Oh, it's gonna go on YouTube.
Probably. I haven't really decided. But yeah, so basically, like you can get if Docker containers that run like any kind of thing, really. I mean, I'm kind of struggling to come up with something cool. I don't know why Minecraft server was like my go-to. But yeah, there's plenty of containers for like all sorts of different things. I mean, if we go back to where we were before, where we were looking at those really popular containers, I mean, like this Couchbase, which is just like a database, has over 10 million downloads. Redis over 10 million downloads. Ubuntu over 10 million downloads. Like these are just like the most popular ones, and so they're kind of like quote unquote official. But I mean, look, there's 4.2 million images, so it's basically like if there isn't an image for what you want, like I'll show you how to make it soon. But I do want to make it a little bit interesting, so let's continue. And so if we run our Nginx container again, were there any more questions?
Next container. Do you need nginx to run nginx?
Sorry, I'm not.
You
following.
need to get nginx to run nginx.
So when you use Docker run Nginx, it pulls the container automatically, the image. But if it's already on your system, then it just runs it.
Is another question is should I put my should I just to be safe, should I run it in a folder in documents?
It doesn't matter where you run Docker from for now, since it's not actually, it won't put anything in any of your folders.
Okay, because I'm in my documents Docker folder that I created.
Yeah, that's fine. We will create some files later, but for now, like this isn't installing the image or any of the binaries like to anywhere you actually care about. Like it's some weird folder path like deep in your system. So yeah. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have any questions before we move on? Okay, so if we just run our container again, maybe I should actually show you guys this trick. So I'm just gonna kill that. If you do docker run -d, d is for detached, and that way, I mean, I'm not sure. You guys are probably using the like desktop application on Windows.
Yeah, I am.
In this case, when I did docker run nginx, like I kind of got stuck looking at the log output of that container. But if you use -d, it'll detach you so that you don't have to, you're not stuck in the container. So now our container is running. We can do docker ps, and we can see that container is running. Container ID IBI1. That's a lot of shit, but anyways, we can just grab our container name here, and we can actually like execute commands in that container, just like from our own operating system. So you can do docker exec, and then the name of the container, and then the basically whatever you want to execute. In this case, I want to do /bin/bash, which if you're unfamiliar with that, it's just like the command line interface of that container. I'm going to put -it for interactive. That way I have an interactive session controlling the... Is this too small, by the way? I just thought of that. Should I make the text bigger?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too small. Just make it bigger, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's way better now. Over.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys. So now, right, so now we're going to be able to open up like an interactive session where we're able to execute commands in that container. Right, and so now we're in the container. And, you know, you can say ls. If you're unfamiliar with Linux, like ls means to list files in that directory. But I just want to show you guys. So the way nginx works is it hosts a website, okay? And that website is basically any website is really just a collection of files. And so in our case, if we go cd, which stands for change directory, to user/share/nginx/html, and then we use the cat command, which just shows us the contents of a file, we can cat the file index.html, which is the default file for the website. And we can see the HTML of the website, right? So this is what gets shown when we access this web server. So now let's kind of set up our own little website. Huh? What do we think about that? So, okay, first thing to talk about is port forwarding. So if you don't know what port forwarding is, sorry, I'm like thinking of Vim shortcuts. If you don't know what port forwarding is, basically when you redirect one port to another port on a system. So in this case, we're going to redirect the input port, or we're going to redirect input to port 80 on our computer to port 80 on that image, which is our little web server. So first things first is we're going to kill that container. I think we'll just do the, and then I have the name still copied. Cool. So now let's run nginx again, but this time let's use the -p flag. So -p, and then you can say 80:80, and that'll redirect port 80 to port 80. Okay. And now, for those of you following along at home, we can head back over here. Man, there's much more web browsing than I anticipated. But anyways, you can type localhost, and then you'll see our little website pop up. And so I guess what I'm trying to get across here is that like Docker is such a powerful tool because in literally one line we set up our own website. Right? Like that's like pretty incredible in my opinion. Um, anybody else? Anybody following along and having any difficulties or anything?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I got most of what you said, like in general.
Okay. Any specific questions you think that will help you understand?
What is a port?
Great
No, I'm
question.
being dead ass.
So basically every computer has like 65,000 ports. And it's just like a port is basically, you can think of it as an interface through which an application on a computer can like communicate with another computer. So like
It's
um,
like your
every-
Wi-Fi printer will connect to your computer through a port.
yeah, right. So that's like a physical port. But then like, well, I guess it depends if you have like a wireless printer.
Yeah, I'm talking about the wireless printers use TCPs.
Yeah. So basically like there's physical ports, obviously like where you plug in your like computer monitor or your your mouse or your keyboard. But then there's like these virtual ports, and the virtual ports are like how computers talk to each other. And so all communications from one computer to another computer go to like a port. So if my computer is communicating with your computer, I'm like referencing, or I'm specifically communicating to your computer, but only through a certain port which we've negotiated. Of course, there's exceptions, and specifically like ports under 1,000 typically are like reserved ports, and so they're typically used for like common services. For instance, every single time you go to any website, the reason that it loads, so if you go to like, I don't know, let's do like Docker, right? I'm actually going to docker.com:80. I'm on port 80. Because 80 is like the default port for web servers.
Except it's 443.
Okay.
Sorry, because there's SSL one and then there's none.
Yeah,
So
okay, but now we're getting
Docker-
complicated.
no,
This guy's
no.
question was port.
Docker is through SSL encryption, right? TLS, which is on 443. Normal non-secured connection would be on 80. There's a difference.
So he's referring to the fact that there's a little lock icon here, meaning that it's
Oh, no, like,
HTTPS, not HTTP.
I mean, like, I'm not new. I never sort of understood ports.
Do you understand them now?
Hi, this is my first time hearing about this.
I do appreciate the layman's terms.
Are they working?
So Docker, you said like you can use it to make like Minecraft servers. You can use it to make websites. Like what else can you use it to make? Like
So
what do you
basically,
use it
Docker
for?
is like a tool to run containers. Okay, so what's like really revolutionary is like containers, but Docker is just like the standard for like running and managing containers.
Okay, cool.
What's really incredible about containers is you can basically like prepackage. We can just say like any like sort of computing or like computer related thing or application or program that you need. So a common misconception is that Docker is for running these applications like a web server or something, which just like run forever, accepting incoming connections or whatever. Actually, technically, that's not true. So, like, Docker can actually be used to just like run it's just to run whatever code or whatever application or process or program is in the container. So if that program is to say, hey, every time I run, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna do 2 plus 2. I'm gonna put out like the answer is 4, and then I'm gonna just die. Like that's a valid Docker container. Like that's just like a job that is run. You could say, hey, run this job every like 10 hours. Every 10 hours we need to do this like scan or something, right? And then you can run that code or whatever's in this container whenever you write Docker run.
Okay, cool.
Was that helpful?
No, yeah, it was.
Okay, cool. I hope this isn't like hard or too hard rather, if you're not familiar with this
It
kind
doesn't feel hard for me.
Okay, so now that we have our little website, we can go like, localhost. Basically, also localhost means like your computer. I guess I should say that too. So if we do like :80, we'll get there, but we can just type localhost and get there. And alternatively, we can type 127.0.0.1, which is also localhost, and also I think like 0.0.0.0, which is also localhost. But let's just do localhost.
I mean, technically 0.0.0.0 isn't localhost. It's all bound connections onto that instance.
Okay. You mean it's like external?
Well, no, like there's networking interfaces, right? You can have a public IP and a local IP. If it's on 0.0.0.0, it's on both public and extra, like private.
Oh, you're saying
it's on everything.
All
it's all your networking
it's all
interfaces.
Network interfaces. Okay.
That's what 0.0 is.
I hate networking.
Looks like we got a huge nerd in the chat. Oh my god. I'm just kidding. Okay, so now let's talk about. So we have our own little website running, right? But how can we really make it our own? That's where now. So we could go back in and like remember when we like showed the contents of this file, and we saw like the HTML that's in there. We could go back and just like manually type that. But Docker has some really great like built-in utilities and tools for you to be able to like make this a more manageable process. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a well, first we're gonna kill this container. And so another fun tip is you can actually just do like type the first couple characters of the ID, which is displayed here when we create it, and Docker will know like to kill that container. So now when we do Docker PS, there's Docker there. Cool. So we're gonna do we're gonna use what's called a volume mount. Okay. So a volume mount is basically you can mount we'll say a directory on your computer into that container so that it's shared across the container as well as the host operating system. So in my case, I'm going to use this directory, which is something I already created, and I'll show you in a minute. So basically you put -v, so for volume, and then you specify the path to the folder you want to mount, and then you specify the path inside the container that you want to mount that folder to. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking the folder. I'll actually show you on my computer the folder. We're taking that folder that we're creating. So this is Docker demo. That's the folder that I'm mounting into the container. And so we're saying these files are going to be in this folder on the container. So /user/share/nginx/html, which if you remember is where nginx serves pages from. So what I've actually done is I've gone and created my own index.html. It just says my web server. It's just, I mean, if you want to like create your own. Okay, it's not working, but anyways. Pardon me. If you want to create your wait, what? Okay. If you want to create your own, or you can use the one that I made. I don't care. It's not copyrighted. Yeah, so I just wrote like, if you're not familiar with HTML, like I just wrote like, you know, the most like basic thing you can do.
Really just going in there as root, eh?
Yeah, because everything in Docker has to be run as root. Do you really want to see me type a bunch of commands and then have to like keep going back and doing like Control A and then typing like sudo space and then like hitting enter again and again and again every single time?
Okay.
Okay, anyways, so basically we just have this little HTML page that says my web server, and apparently we can't close this tab. Oh, okay, that worked. Right, so what I've done is I've put that file with the same name as the file that's in the Nginx web server by default, and I've thrown that in this directory that we're mounting, right? And so now when I mount it, or when I start the container rather, with that shared file mount, and I go to localhost, it's going to say 403 forbidden, of course, because I didn't do this when I rehearsed earlier. Probably crashed.
Just the pain of coding.
Cool, thanks, great, awesome, that's so great.
Okay, Docker.
Well, it's supposed to say
You know, Nginx by default throws a 403 forbidden when the file isn't found, right?
I figured, well, okay, look, I did it earlier and it worked, and it's probably just because I added a bunch more garbage files in there in that directory now. So if we go to great, this is a good learning opportunity for everybody, because now we can do live debugging and we can exec into that container, which is friendly Feistel. We're just gonna copy paste it. Then we can list the files at /user/share/nginx/HTML. And you can see there's nothing in there. Fantastic. That's so great. That's awesome. That's just what I wanted to do. Cool. Well, this is embarrassing.
Well, who said earlier that they were familiar with Docker? Do you have any input? You knew about the zeros on the HTML, on like the URL.
Oh, Yeah, the nerd she's talking about.
Put some 80s in. Put
Sorry,
some
are you
80s.
are you talking about me? Sorry, what? Huh?
I don't know. Do you know about Doctor?
Kind of, not really.
That's okay.
I just know how networking in Linux works, which is
I can
how I
play
know
Minecraft.
Nginx.
Dude, okay, you don't have to
Nginx-
roast me like that.
That's not roasting.
I can
Okay.
do commands in Minecraft.
Now that's peak. That's what you need.
Kian, if you ever want to run Minecraft Zoom, I'll be there.
I love the idea of like us recording this, putting it on YouTube, and somebody like watching it, and then
It's like,
Danny's
what
just
is the BITsoc up to?
I can do commands in Minecraft.
I think everyone can. Like,
Know how to play Minecraft.
yo, let's get a Docker
Guys.
instance going to run Java to run a Minecraft server.
I have a
like
question.
pre-built Docker Minecraft.
Kian,
server.
make like a new Docker file. This one's probably corrupted.
It's not corrupted.
Or like,
There's just
not,
no file
obviously it's
found.
not working.
There's no file found what Nginx, the web server's looking for. That's
Put
the
in
issue.
some Minecraft command.
Yeah.
/ keep inventory. I'm kidding. I'm just making fun.
Okay.
We take a picture
So-
of this
They're doing, like,
website and we
slideshow
enter it
plus
into
the
the BITsoc bad website design competition.
You wouldn't dare. You wouldn't dare ruin the sanctity of that competition. There, is that what you wanted? You want me to type sudo?
I love that.
That's what you're supposed to do, dude. Get used to it. When you sudo into root, it's just cheating, and it's like you don't do that.
Okay, so I don't know how I like knew this would be the problem, but I think it's because I was like in root, like I was specifying
Oh,
home
go to the
documents
root home
demo,
folder.
but that doesn't really exist because it's like the home
Literally
of like
non-existent.
my user, you know? Does that make sense to people who care about it making sense? I know there's some of you that were interested in the error, okay? So speak up now. Or just ignore it, that's cool. Anyways, okay, cool. Well, anyways, basically like here's our local host. Boom, we got our little web server going. And yeah, we're really cooking with gas now because
It's looking good.
just like that, you can post whatever content you want. I actually have my own really shitty website that I run off Docker. If you guys want to see,
Show
it's
us.
like really bad. It's apparently so bad it's not even up.
They blocked you.
That's great. That's cool.
They
I
were
love
like,
when
no
that
more.
happens.
This is your website now.
Yeah, this is it. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to the scheduled programming. Scheduled programming. Okay, so we've looked at how to run other people's images. Now let's talk about how to build our own image. And so that what's really great about like building your own Docker image is basically like you can ensure that it runs the same. Like basically you can distribute this file and it will ensure that like, I mean, obviously like there's some wiggle room here, but like it'll ensure that when other people build the container, it builds the same way. So what is a Docker file? Basically a Docker file is like a file that describes how to compile a certain image. So you can like even specify like an image to start with and then like make modifications to that image, or you can specify like certain commands to be run, or you know, like what the entry point is, which is like, I mean, I hope that you guys don't want to get into. And so here's some like basic commands. And I realized this is supposed to say add. Anyway, so you can say like from an image, and then you can kind of start with that base image. You can copy files into the image using the copy command. You can use the add command, is what it should say, to copy files from like locally, or even like a remote file, or even like a tarball that'll be like automatically extracted. And then you can specify a run, so like a command to run. You can specify, of course, like multiple commands to run on startup. And so now let's build our own little Docker file. So I don't know why I took it off this one. We've got our base container of Nginx. So okay, let me build the scenario a little bit. In this scenario, we have our like custom web server, and we want to distribute that custom web server so that other people, because our web server is so awesome, it's so like just like such a sick image, that people will want to use it. And so everyone wants to have their own my web server page. And so we can actually build that image and then upload it to Docker Hub for other people to pull, or another container registry, or just for our local machine. So here I've put like how we would do that basically. And so just to start, we're going to use that base Nginx container. And then the only thing we really added was we changed that file. And so in this case, I'm using this dot to represent the current directory, if you're not familiar with that notation. So that means like, so it's basically we're copying everything in the file, in the folder that we're in right now, to this folder on the image. And so what that's going to do is it's going to copy that index.html file that we hand wrote, that beautiful HTML, and it's going to throw that up in the container for us. And that way, like anytime somebody runs this image that we just compiled, it'll be exactly the same as like what we're running right now. And so to build the image from the Docker file, I use Docker build. You can put -t to specify like a name. -t is for tag, but like you don't even need to put a tag. And then a tag is like a version. So basically like you would put like custom-web server :version 6 or whatever. By default, the tag is just latest. So, right, and then you would specify the path to the parent directory of the Docker file you want to build. And then you can just run the image, specifying the name of the custom image. So, we can bring this over here. So we can kill this. And then we can paste that, and we'll say, we're actually in the directory with the Docker file in it, so we're just going to use that dot notation again. And we should be able to build. You see what you've done?
How do you sudo bang bang? It's so much faster, man.
What even is that? Is that the thing that like automatically reruns the thing? Will it
Yes.
hack me if I type sudo bang bang?
No. I'm not
Oh, what? That's like sick. What the hell? I didn't know. I knew that there's like these things you could download that would like automatically like rerun stuff when you like got errors that was like a known error. Okay. Anyways, so we built that image that we wanted to build. Isn't that incredible, guys? And now
That is
we
pretty
just
sick.
do Docker run custom -web server. Let's do. Let's not forget our -p8080, just so that we can be sure. Boom. And oh my god, well, you know what? I'm gonna use my
Yep.
new technique. And boom, now we should go back to localhost. And it looks exactly the same because it's just the same. Kind of not really a cool demo, but um, it worked. I can show you. I mean, you can see here. There's like the web logs from like me accessing. Why did I say
Why
it
don't
like
you
that?
run your
Accessing.
website like on your computer and show us it?
Sorry.
Why don't you run your website you tried to show us live, but just run it on your computer?
Why don't we do that at the end?
Alright.
I don't actually. I have like a server. So let's do. What are we doing? Oh yeah, we're not done. So there's one more really great thing that you can do like right out of the box with Docker that I want to talk about, which is using Docker Compose to define and run multi-container Docker applications, which sounds really complicated, but basically it's just like Docker Compose is just like a file format, and you specify it's not a file format, sorry. It uses YAML. If you're not familiar with YAML, it's just a data serialization language. It's just like key value pairs. So, thing, thing is like thing equals thing type thing. And basically the Docker Compose, you can define using that YAML file format the containers that you want to run, the relationships between those containers, the environment variables of those containers, etc., etc. And like it's just that easy to and then you just run the one command, and it brings up all the containers how you've defined in the file. Okay, so basically, like the structure of a compose file. You start with the version. It's kind of lame, but you put like version 3 or whatever. I think there's like some breaking changes between like version 1 and 2. So as long as you like use version 3 and above, you'll be fine. And then you say services, : and then you so okay, it is important to note that like in YAML, indentation does matter. I should also mention you have to use spaces, much to my chagrin, although who doesn't have an IDE that just uses spaces when you hit tab anyway. So services, and then you specify each container. So basically in this case, the services are containers. So each container is a service. And so under services, you define each container, the properties of that container, the networks it belongs to. So you can have like Docker networks. Damn it, I should have put that in this tutorial. So you can have like Docker networks to like connect different containers. You can do, this container has to start up after this container. Like this, it has to wait for this container to start. Different like dependency stuff like that. Okay, so now let's rebuild our website, but let's do it big. Okay, none of this crappy Nginx basic default website stuff, right? We're going to use WordPress. If you don't know WordPress, it's like one of the most popular website softwares in the world, and it's really great because you just need to like set it up, and then no tech skills are required after that. Like anybody can just go in and post their posts and write their blogs and stuff like that. We're actually using it for the BITsoc website, which is not yet ready, but we're working on it, hoping to get it live after the break. And so, okay, so in this case, you see services. Can you guys read this? Is it big enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So services is kind of this like top level specification, we'll say. And then DB is the name of this service. And then the service, the DB service is like the image MySQL 5.7. It uses the volume DB data and it mounts it to var lib MySQL. Restart always means that if it crashes for any reason, it just restarts. And then these are like environment variables, which are like just like the passwords and usernames that you would use if this was like a real thing. Obviously, you don't want to use like some WordPress, like WordPress. And then we've got our WordPress container or service, which uses the WordPress image. And see, this right here is what I was talking about. Depends on DB. So WordPress cannot start until the database has started. So that's a really great feature. And so here we're exposing the port 8000 and redirecting it to WordPress. So like port 8000 on our computer redirects to port 80 on this container. Restart always, and then we have our environment variables again. And then we have what's volumes down here. And basically this volume is just like empty. But it's like this same volume on the that we're mounting to var/lib/MySQL in the MySQL database. And you need to define it so that like it has a mount point on the computer or whatever. I don't really understand it. It's just like you have to do it. And so what's really great is I just ripped this off from the Docker website because I was getting late. I'm sure you guys are busy too, exams and stuff. I actually already copied it, so I don't know why I copied it. So I'll just show you like in the file folder. You can see Docker demo. Not sure what's gonna happen if I. So here's the file we just looked at, right? And so when I'm in that directory, I can do docker -compose up. So it's important to know you have to name the file docker-compose.yaml. And then you can do docker-compose up or, well, first of all, sudo docker-compose up. And I like to also put -d so I don't get stuck in it. So creating Docker demo _db_1, created the other image, and now if we go back here, and we go localhost, but this time we specify port 8000. Bang! We have the WordPress live thing, and you can make your my website. And,
My website too.
Whatever, like, anyways, you get the idea. Then you go through the whole thing and install it, and you run your own website. And then finally, thank you. Was it okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I actually learned a lot. Thank you.
Thumbs up
Was it
all
not?
around.
Was it not terrible?
It's
I
good,
can't-
but one thing to improve on is don't do a lot of ums because it just doesn't sound professional personally.
Okay.
Oh, that's a small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Like I pay attention for most of this, and I think the only things I got out of this was what containers mean and what ports were.
That's
I
still
think,
something, you know?
yeah.
I got
But
the
is it,
ideas. I think that's something too.
is it okay if I ask you some questions?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, actually, I wanted to ask you this way earlier, but then I don't know. I just never found a good time to ask you this. Okay, hold on, because I was writing them down.
Okay, so yeah, there you go.
This is also
Okay, so my question is, you keep using the word image to describe something, but like, I'm not sure if I understand what that is.
so the image is like the bundled code and like libraries and all the dependencies of the container. Like it's basically like the container, like when the container is running. Okay, wait. Like the image is like the. Okay, so imagine like you have a disk, okay, and you like stick it in your computer. Like the program that starts from that disk is the container, and the data on the disk is the image. So the
It's like
the
everything
image
that's like
is like the
stored.
data that's needed to start the container and run the container.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Hi, sorry. Can you say the DVD example again?
So I was saying like, imagine you have a CD with like an image on it, okay? Not an actual image, but like data on it, okay? And you stick that CD in your computer, and then the program that is like on the CD runs, right?
Mm.
So in this scenario, like the program that runs is the container, but the data on that CD is the image because it takes that data that's on the CD and it turns it into the application that runs.
Thanks. I think I get that.
Thumbs up from Danny in the chat means it made sense.
My other question was, at one point you said shared file mount. What does that mean?
So it means that you can access the file both on like your computer as well as within the Docker container. So it's shared between the container and the computer on which the host is running, or on which the container is running.
Sorry if I'm taking a long time to ask between these. I'm writing
No
them down.
worries.
Is it okay if you explain to me how a web server works?
Basically, a web server is just like an application that receives incoming requests for certain pages.
Mhm.
And then if that page exists and they wanted to like if that page exists and they want to, it's like a valid page and they have access and like they should see the page, then the web server returns that page. So like when you go to Google, let's say, like this is like on Google's server, it says if somebody goes to google.com, show them this page. But if somebody, so then like, basically, I know it's kind of weird to think about, but the way it makes the most sense is like, you know, this folder structure that you have like in your computer, like in My Documents or whatever, where you have these different folders and these different directories, and they have like hierarchy and they have files or they have more directories, right? So it's almost like each page is a file in the same directory, and then you can kind of go deeper. Like it really is just a file system, basically. I'm trying to think of a good example.
Sounds like a gatekeeper. Like it lets you through and shows you where you need to go if you're allowed to.
Yeah. yeah, I mean, keyword is like, it decides whether that page exists. It decides if this person should be viewing this page, etc., etc. But essentially, I think it's easiest just to think of like it's an application that sits on a computer and receives requests and sends responses. So when I go to google.com, I'm requesting the page. When Google servers receive that response, they receive that request, they return a response to me, and that response is the HTML and the like styling that my browser interprets as this Google page. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have another question. You keep using pseudo. What does that mean?
So basically, like, do you know what, like, are you on Windows?
Yep.
Do you know, like, an administrator? Like, you know how, like, sometimes you need, like, administrator privilege to, like, do something?
Yeah.
So sudo is, like, the, like, Linux version of the administrator. Like, basically, like, you have to say sudo if you want to do something which, like, could be dangerous or, like, security. Could be, like, a security risk.
If you're not careful,
Okay.
So this is actually my this is my server where I have my
I have a question. So earlier, I want to ask, how can one web server be better than the other?
not sure what you mean by that.
Earlier, you joked, hee, our image is so good, everyone wants to like.
Oh, but I was just making a joke.
Yeah, but like, how can? I don't know.
It's like the speed.
Damn,
of
I don't know. I just wrote down how. Fuck. Yeah, like
it's really
okay.
It's just a joke. Like, I actually am just
Okay.
making a joke.
Okay, because I wrote that down and I'm like, was that like an important question from earlier or like I'm not sure. I don't remember what I was thinking when I was writing it. But yeah.
No, I was just making a joke. Like, I was trying to come up with a scenario where we wanted to like redistribute our web server. You know.
So I have a question.
Yeah, you have a couple.
Sorry. I'm really sorry if I'm bothering you with these questions because.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, thanks. And also thanks for being so nice to me for answering them.
You just don't get a website.
Yeah. Just give up.
You said it was you know what? I feel like this isn't even an important question. But earlier you said the YAML was a key value path. What does that mean?
And so it's like it's files. It's a file format that is key value pairs. So if we look at YAML, it's basically like sorry, I'm just trying to like that's not a good example. So basically like YAML is like it's like file format, and it just uses like okay, this is the key, and then this is the value. So the key, and then like a colon, and then the value. So it's saying like this equals this, basically, right?
it's like your name is
So then here's where it gets a little bit more like complex, is like this is saying that YAML resources is actually equal to like this list of attributes, basically. So it's not just like a one-to-one thing. In this case, it's like one-to-one, but the one thing is like a list of 12 or 16 things. And then, so then you also have like, well, I guess, I don't even know if this is it. And then you have like these things that like, I guess this is a list. This is a dictionary. I'm not really sure. Maybe this is just like a hierarchical thing, and this is more like a list. So this is saying like C/C++, and then like listing 4 things. Let's see if I can, like,
What
dictionary
language does Doctor run on? Like, what are you like writing in?
I'm not like, it's not like, so I think maybe what you're thinking is like like this is like command line stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you're on Windows, right?
Yeah.
So that would be like if you like hit the Windows key and type CMD. Like this is just the Linux version of that. So did you end up
Okay.
installing Docker? Did it decide to
I didn't really open, and then Playground wasn't working either. I've just been watching you.
So if you do like if you open up the command line on your computer and you type
Mhm.
Docker, what happens?
Oh, like it couldn't open. Like I'm just watching your document.
Okay. Well,
Wait, try it on your Chinese.
what?
Like, what do you mean? Type in doctor.
Okay, first of all, it's Docker. There's no T.
Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, I'm saying like, so if you go like, because you did install it, right?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. My computer is really bad too.
No, but I was just saying like basically, okay, even if you didn't, let's forget about Docker for a sec. Like if you just go like you know the Windows key where you can like go in the start menu,
Mhm.
and then you type like CMD and you hit it,
Yeah.
and then there's like the command line. There's like, it's like a black little cursor. Like
Oh,
this
yeah,
is just the
I
Linux
know.
version of that.
Oh, okay.
So like, it's just using like, it's not even like programming. It's just like keywords.
Oh,
So like basically, okay, so like when you click like Chrome on your computer,
Mhm.
you're clicking the picture, but behind the scenes, it's running the command.
It's running
like
command lines.
Chrome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I was just being like a nerd and like using the command line. Actually, there isn't really a desktop application for Linux, I don't think, unless you
Maybe.
count like OS X. Yeah.
Mhm.
Did that make sense?
I was impressed that you just like knew what to like write. Like, have you like memorized command lines, or like how did you learn Docker?
I worked at like I learned on co-op basically.
Oh, okay.
Like technically we learned it in school, but it was like one lab and I just like copy pasted somebody else's thing.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like I got much more familiar with it on co-op this semester. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of like Kubernetes, but that's like really popular right now. And basically like Kubernetes is they call it a container orchestration, or they call it container orchestration. Basically, like it's for like complex management and I guess that's it. Like complex management of Docker containers or any containers, but let's just say Docker containers. And so basically, like you can say, hey, I want like 30 of these containers, or let's say your sick ass my web server is getting like lots of page requests. It'll like automatically spin up more containers to handle the traffic, but then like spin back down, like get rid of them when you don't need that much traffic anymore. So like it really like takes Docker, well, it takes containers to like the next level. However, it's only like, it's not like always super useful. Um, sometimes it's like not like it can be really awesome for like huge companies that like run like thousands and thousands of servers. But if you're like even like a medium-sized company, like you probably don't need it.
Okay,
so,
yeah, fair.
Was that the question? What was the question? Oh, how do I learn this? Yeah. So, yeah, I just learned it like from work. I'm curious why this isn't working though. What if I go?
Do you have like a firewall on?
Maybe actually, that actually might be it. Because that's actually probably it. That's so funny.
Yeah, teamwork.
Do you guys really want to watch me like open up this firewall?
Ew.
Sure. I gotta leave by 7:30, but this is interesting. So were you the one that wrote in like the Linux server slash swag? Is swag actual thing?
So
Or did you
okay.
start that in?
I'm not. No, I'm not cringe. Like, look, like,
I want to
swag,
know the lore.
I think it's really dumb name because it makes me feel really cringe. Swag.
Only to people
Yeah.
that don't understand the code.
It's no. It's really dumb. What does it stand for? Secure Web Application Gateway.
Oh my god, that's so
basically,
unfortunate.
They called it something, but then like it was like the same name as like a trademarked brand kind of thing. So okay, so basically there's this thing called a reverse proxy, and a reverse proxy is like complicated to explain. Let's just leave it there. But basically, Nginx can also act as a reverse proxy. Basically, a reverse proxy means like, so when people go to kianjones.com, they're not really going to, like they go to kianjones.com and then that address gets changed to like my IP address, right? Of my dad's basement. And like that IP address, well, okay, technically it's like my router, okay, right? Like my whole like home uses this IP address to communicate with the outside world. And so what I do is I have on my router, if something like if somebody tries to request something on port 80 or on port 443, like a web page, right? Then my router forwards those requests to my server, and then my server like has a reverse proxy. So Nginx can also be used as a reverse proxy. And basically, I try to explain reverse proxy like triage. So it says, okay, if like this is actually for like this application, go here. If this is for this application, go here. So that's why if this was working correctly, if I type in portainer.kianjones.com, it would say, okay, portainer, it actually goes to a different, like it's not kianjones.com, it's a different service running on the server, on the same server. So Nginx would say, hey, this is portainer.kianjones.com, so redirect it to this container. And so I have this like system that should work, but I don't know how to maybe like reload. Firewall not even enabled.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry to ask this, but can you explain to me what Nginx is?
Nginx is it's an application that is most commonly used as a web server, right? We talked about what a web server is, right? And dude, what? And it's most commonly used as a web server, and it just basically accepts incoming web page requests and forwards them as needed. Or I mean, did we talk about this? I feel like we did. Did that not make sense? What was the question?
I wanted you to explain what Nginx was.
Okay. So Nginx is basically a web server. It also does load balancing and reverse proxying. So it's kind of complicated to explain, but basically, like, I'm sure somebody else can explain it better. Basically, it's just like it just serves web pages when you request it.
Okay.
Maybe these pictures are good. Okay, so in this case, it's a reverse proxy. So it receives. So like let's say this is your computer. You're making a request. Nginx receives it and decides, okay, it should be forwarded to this server. This server is running Apache. Then this server replies, and this Nginx reverse proxy says, okay, I should send it to this person because that's the associated request. In this case, we have what's called load balancing, which is when like all these requests are being basically like, okay, if you have these people making these requests, you don't want them all going to the same server because then that server is going to get overloaded. So Nginx provides load balancing. So it will evenly distribute the load across the different servers or, whatever is the case. And then, yeah, I feel like that was a good explanation.
Thanks.
Did that make sense?
Yeah. I have another question. So earlier you said something. Okay, you keep writing root in Docker. What does that mean?
Root is like the root is like the
It's the administrator on Linux-based systems.
yeah. Sorry, I stopped thinking. So let's see if I can get this up and running. Not sure why it's not working. Probably because I have a little brain. Could be why. It's like all these applications I don't really use. But yeah, I think I was like right in the middle of getting it back up and running when I logged off last time. So I should just go to where I want to go. Home.
Yeah, really sorry I gotta run, but what's the next BITsoc event? The calendar's on the Discord, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, I'll just check that. But anyway, thank
It's
you
in
very
your
much.
email for sure.
Thank you for the tutorial.
You can look at the December newsletter. Boom. Right there. The next event
Boom.
is an exam review on the 12th and 13th.
Okay.
So, I mean, we don't really have any like events planned. I hope it was cool, guys. Thanks for coming.
It was cool.
Feel free to send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message, or join the Discord. BITsoc Discord. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and
And
add to favorites. Have a good night. Anybody have any last questions they want to ask before I
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm asking so much questions. So earlier you mentioned, so you showed me. I just want to ask what this means. I'm
It's like a type of server. A
Sorry?
server that
Sorry.
does special things. Oh, she wrote it in chat.
No, it's just a web server. So Apache is like it does the same thing as Nginx basically. All right, I gotta go for dinner. Thanks, guys. It was great to meet you all.
Thanks for explaining everything to me. I really appreciate it.
I hope to have
I learned so much shit.
followers.
Okay, good night.
Bye.